2 elves were bustling around the clearing as Boromir woke. He watched them as greenfinches twittered among the branches. At first, Boromir thought that he was seeing double and that the elves were one and the same. They shared the same dark hair and even dressed alike in shining silver mail and breastplates and grey cloaks. He looked up at an effulgent sky. A gentle breeze made the yellow leaves of the birch trees shimmer. The sun was high above the blue, hazy mountains to his right. The smell of wood smoke and a hint of incense or some sweet-smelling herb filled his nostrils. He looked down and saw that his clothesline had been retied. His surcoat and cloak swayed in the breeze. He sat up and leaned against the flat, sloping rock that had sheltered him during the night. Pushing the thick blanket down to his waist, he ran his hand over the light woolen undershirt they'd dressed him in. It was clean and lined with linen and buttoned at the neck. Above all, it was warm and dry.
"How is your arm?"
One of the elves stood a few yards from him. Boromir eyed the long, curved knife the elf wore at his hip. He raised his hand to his shoulder and rubbed it gently, lifted his elbow and rolled his shoulder. He had a vague memory of pale white light and a sudden intense pain as one of the elves stood over him, pulling and twisting his arm.
The troll kindly wrenched it from its socket.
The other elf approached, standing beside his brother. They shared the same grey eyes.
"I took the liberty of putting some smoked venison and dried fruit in your bag. I'm afraid it's all we can spare."
The one looked at his brother.
"There are some pear trees growing a league or so along the road.
"Nor can we spare you a horse."
We're heading south."
The one explained.
"Your path, Lord Boromir, lies along the river. Head west for—"
"Why does everyone in this accursed land know my name?"
The one stared at him for a long moment, the shadow of a smile brightening his face.
"Head west for half a mile until you reach the road. It will take you to the ford."
"The ford of Bruinen."
"Naturally.
Said the other.
From there, a day's walk will bring you to Rivendell."
"A long walk,
The one conceded.
though a pleasant one if this weather holds."
"If you should feel lightheaded, take a sip of this Miruvor.
The other held up a small brown phial.
It should sustain you."
"And use this."
The one said, holding up a small lantern. A white crystal within shone weakly in the sunlight.
"Make camp in the road, in the open. As long as you keep it with you, you will be quite safe."
"You sustained quite an injury."
Said the other, crouching next to him. Boromir instinctively turned his head as the elf raised his hand to his brow.
"It's most fortunate that you yet live."
The one leaned over the edge of the gorge as he strapped on his hip quiver, peering down at the dead troll.
"It was a big one. Was it you that sent it careening over the cliff?"
"Or the other fellow?"
"Did you know him?"
Boromir shook his head.
"A spy, sent to kill me."
"A half-orc of Isengard by the look of him."
Said the one. The other nodded.
"There are so many spies about these days."
"Dark days, Elladan."
They both shouldered their longbows at the same time.
"War is coming, Elrohir."
The twins mounted their grey, dappled horses. Elladan clicked his tongue and turned his horse southward. Elrohir looked down at Boromir, and he had to admit there was a kindness and sympathy in the elf's eyes.
"As for your question, I can only answer for the two of us. Mithrandir arrived at Rivendell 3 days ago. He has your father's letter.
He followed his brother through the trees.
Farewell, Lord Boromir."
"Make haste, son of Gondor.
Elladan called out.
Master Elrond is expecting you."
What the elves had failed to tell him was that it was a 2.5-day walk to the fords. He had taken their advice when it came to making camp on the first evening. The road was a leaf-strewn track, and he'd bedded down in one of the wheel ruts with the lantern at his feet. The twins had given him the clean, dry blanket, for which, to his shame, he'd not thanked them. It was thicker and warmer than his own, and he was thankful nonetheless. But the real measure of the twins' generosity was the bedroll. Quilted with down, it was woven from wool and some other heavy thread. Lying on it felt like he was in a bed, and for the first time in what seemed months he was warm and dry. On the second night, he again made camp in the road and leaned against his shield against a tree as he roasted one of the rabbits. There was no lack of game hereabouts, and he'd managed to trap a brace of conies and a wood pigeon after he'd made camp. He was astounded that the shield was in one piece after the incident with the troll. After dinner, he pulled his cloak around himself and stared up at the moon, thinking of Lostal. The last leg of his journey was upon him, but he wished he had her with him. Boromir was spent, like the last stub of a burnt-out candle. His legs and back were numb and ached at the same time. The blisters on his heels had stopped stinging but now throbbed. But the Miruvor lifted his spirits and eased the pain in his head. He ran his fingertips across the embossed leather of his bracer.
I wonder if I'll ever have the chance to return these to their maker.
Perhaps she'll be waiting for you in Rivendell.
With all the other kind people who've helped me along the way.
Seek for the sword that is broken. In Imladris it dwells.
The sword isn't what I seek.
There shall be counsels taken, stronger than Morgul spells.
Mother!
He took his shield and sword over to the wheel rut in the road and lay down on his bedroll.
There shall be shown a token that doom is near at hand.
He took off the baldric and set the horn of Gondor beside him next to his sword.
I've heard enough, Mother.
For Isildur's bane shall waken, and the halfling forth shall stand.
Are you quite finished?
He said, pulling the blanket up to his chin.
Yes, they'll all be there, ready to congratulate you on such a great achievement. Lord Boromir, Captain General of Minas Tirith, who bravely set out on a 3-week journey to Imladris and arrived there over 100 days after setting out.
Boromir pulled up his hood and turned onto his side.
Perhaps they'll read your father's letter.
He closed his eyes.
I therefore humbly ask that you, Lord Elrond, accept the arrival of my elder son, Boromir, heir to the stewardship of Gondor. He is a great disappointment to me.
Mother.
And I wish I had sent his younger, more capable brother, Faramir, to your homely house in his stead.
Mother. I forgive you.
Finduilas fell silent. On the morning of the third day, the road passed through a glade of bright blue flowers before bringing him close to the river. Here the trees were golden, copper and bronze, noisy with bullfinches. The unfailing sunlight dappled the leaf litter. Across the water, the land rose up into steep cliffs, broken by deep wooded gorges filled with rushing water. The mountains grew ever closer and taller as he sauntered along, munching on a pear. At times he thought he could hear the gentle lilt of a harp drifting across the river, and at others, musical laughter. He stopped for a rest before noon, lifting the water skin to inspect the mended seam. It was as though it had never been damaged. After drinking the sweetest water he'd tasted in a long time, he lifted his head. He could definitely hear singing and laughter on the breeze from across the river. He strolled towards the edge of the gorge. As the land rose, he looked upstream at the flat, wide valley bottom where the river churned white over the rocks, the ford of Bruinen. He peered over the edge of the cliff at the rushing waters, and his eyes were drawn to a black shape among the boulders at the river's edge. It was a black horse. Boromir looked around through the trees behind him. He turned back to the cliff and again squinted down into the gorge. Another black horse lay half submerged, caught in a churning pool of the river. Boromir started at a hoarse whisper on the breeze and spun round towards the forest. Was it a whisper, or merely the wind in the trees? It was early afternoon when he came upon the ford. He stood at the bank and looked across the wide river. Now that he was near to it, he was relieved that the water here was clear, flowing calm and shallow over a gravel riverbed. He was looking forward to getting his half-rotten boots wet again. As he looked across the water, he was distracted by the blue and orange flash of a kingfisher darting among the shrubs at the river's edge. A flurry of autumn leaves swirled about him, and he turned at the same hoarse whisper among the trees. He started to walk across the ford, still preoccupied with the voice in the trees behind. It was indeed a voice. The water was spilling over the tops of his boots. Now there were indistinct words, and the whisper seemed closer. He felt a pit open up in his belly at the utterance of black speech. He stopped and turned again. This time, he understood the words.
Bring it to your city.
There was another flurry of leaves on the riverbank, but then the wind receded and the trees were still. He peered into the darkening forest for a long moment. Then, contented that no one was there, he turned away. Before setting off, he looked down at his feet. He was standing on the riverbank, 3 paces from the water's edge. He walked on, towards Rivendell.